I'm 25 and my wife, let's call her Amanda, is 27. We've been together for 8.5 years, but we just got legally married about 10 weeks ago. 5 weeks ago, we had the big church wedding, and then 2 weeks later, we went on our honeymoon. That's when things started to feel off. For the first time ever, I noticed Amanda was glued to her phone, constantly texting, and doing that subtle thing where she tilted the screen away so I couldn't see. I asked her who she was talking to, and she just said it was her sister or some friends. That should have been enough for me, but it wasn't. Something didn't sit right. The second week of the honeymoon, while she was asleep, I gave in to a feeling I'd never had before. I checked her phone. I'd never snooped before. I trusted her. But what I found absolutely gutted me. She was having an affair with a 39-year-old cook from her job. A guy she sees every day. I didn't confront her then, not while we were on our honeymoon. I didn't want to cause a scene in the middle of what was supposed to be our first vacation as husband and wife. But when we got back, I started digging. That's when I found out it had started last November, after we got engaged but before the wedding. She had months. Months to tell me the truth. Months where we could have called the whole thing off. But she didn't. As of now, Amanda has no idea I know. Or maybe she does. There's been a weird tension lately. We're supposed to be picking out photos for the wedding album, sending thank you cards for the gifts, and here I am, pretending everything's fine while I'm breaking apart inside. I've started looking into what my options are, whether I can have her removed from our rental, whether I can annul the marriage or file for divorce. Our names are both on the lease, which complicates things. A relevant twist, the guy she's seeing? He's still technically married. He has 2 teenage kids. He's not divorcing his wife anytime soon because they're stuck paying off a loan together. And get this, they're openly saying how much they love each other and want to fully live their love when the timing is right. From what I've read, the plan is for her to have children with me first, and then once this guy is free, they'll be together. I'm not even sure what I'm hoping to get out of writing this. Maybe I just need someone to tell me that walking away, even just 2 months after the wedding, is the right thing. I talked to a lawyer who said this kind of case is rare but not impossible. She referred me to someone more experienced. I'm planning to meet with them soon. The follow-up lawyer said I might be able to file for an annulment within 6 months of marriage, but cheating isn't clearly listed in the law as grounds. Still, I've got time, and she's checking on whether ongoing infidelity before and after the ceremony could count. In the meantime, I've got exams coming up, so I've been putting off the confrontation. But it's weighing on me. I have no idea how to start that conversation. Hey, I know you've been cheating on me. What do you even say to that? I also spoke with our priest. He said I can apply for a church annulment if I can prove the affair was happening throughout the relationship. But he asked me to talk to Amanda first, to give her the chance to come clean. I'm torn. Part of me doesn't want to give her that power. I don't think I could trust her again, no matter what she says. The priest told me not to focus on blaming her, but to talk about how hurt I am, how fake the marriage feels. Instead of discussing forgiveness, I should talk about whether there's any path forward at all. He also said I shouldn't tell her everything I know, just enough to start the conversation. After gathering more information, I finally talked to her about 3 weeks ago. It was brutal. There were tears, raised voices, a lot of confusion. We kept talking about it in the days that followed. We even spent a weekend away to talk without distractions. She still couldn't explain why she did it. She just said she was scared of how I'd react if she told me. And then she said something that knocked the wind out of me. She said she still loved me. After I found out about Amanda's affair, I gave her a choice, either commit to our marriage or go be with him. I told her to think about what she was willing to do to rebuild what we had. I figured I'd base my own decision on hers. At first, I was 90% sure I was going to leave. And honestly, after the week that followed, I should have been 100%. She still couldn't give me a straight answer about whether she wanted to stay with me or be with him. That indecision? That was the answer I needed. If she couldn't decide 3 months into our marriage, then how could I possibly commit to a lifetime with her? 2 weeks ago, we officially decided to end things. What struck me most was, she never once asked me to stay. She looked sad, sure. But deep down, I think she was also relieved, free to go be with him. Maybe that was what she wanted all along. I told my family, my parents, my brothers, last week. They were heartbroken for me, but they understood. They knew it was the right call. Amanda told her parents that same day, and they were furious. They kicked her out. She's crashing with friends now but already found an apartment, and will be moving her stuff out of my place in about 10 days. Next week, I've got a meeting with my lawyer to file for a marriage annulment. I still need to let the priest know she's moved out so we can start the church annulment too. At this point, I don't even know what else to say. Our marriage barely lasted 3 months. And when it ended, the woman I thought I'd grow old with was almost relieved to walk away. I'm starting to adjust, slowly. Getting used to being alone. Figuring out life on my own. It's not easy, but I'm getting there. Thanks for listening. I've got a long road ahead, but one day, I hope I meet someone who truly loves me, for real this time. A few months ago, I bought out my longtime business partner, Roger. The last 5 years have been incredibly tough, but also the most rewarding of my life. We pushed through everything together, and now, with a new company president stepping in, I finally get to ease off the gas. I'm still the CEO and owner, but I can actually breathe now. I couldn't wait to share the news with my daughters, how their dad would finally be around more, and with my wife, Zoe, who's been my rock through it all. Truthfully, I've loved every bit of building this company, watching it grow into something bigger than I ever imagined. But the thing I've always wanted most? More time with my family. To be there for the little things. The school plays. Lazy weekends. Dinner at the table with laughter echoing off the walls. I was 45, finally ready to enjoy the life I'd built. As we pulled into our circular driveway after a long trip home from London, I sat in the back of the limo, swirling the last sip of bourbon in my glass. I was exhausted, but content. Just 30 minutes earlier, I'd been fantasizing about my daughters racing to the front door and Zoe wrapping me in one of those warm, grounding hugs. But when I stepped inside, something was wrong. The house was silent. Not just quiet, silent. I called out, "Zoe? Girls?" Nothing. Only the sound of the driver dragging my bags into the foyer. That's when I noticed the envelope. It was sitting neatly on the console table. My name, Jonathan, written in Zoe's unmistakable handwriting, the one I'd fallen in love with years ago on little notes tucked into my suitcase before business trips. I opened it. Inside was the kind of letter that shatters your soul while smiling through the tears. Jonathan, my love. What an incredible journey we've had as husband and wife. I've cherished every minute of the last 16 years with you, and I truly looked forward to growing old together. You are my whole world, and I honestly don't know how to live without you. But I have to tell you something. Something I never imagined myself writing, something I hoped I could bury forever. For the past 6 months, I've been seeing another man. There's no love between us. I swear. It's not emotional, only physical. But it happened. And no matter how I tried to rationalize it, it was wrong. I can't carry this guilt anymore, Jonathan. You deserve to know the truth. He does things to me that I can't explain. Things I crave and can't seem to resist. It's like a drug, and I hate that part of myself. I hate that I couldn't stop. But I also couldn't lie to you anymore. Please believe me, nothing has changed between us. I've done everything I could to keep this hidden, not because I wanted to deceive you, but because I didn't want it to affect the love we share. I still love you. I always have. Our family means everything to me, and that hasn't changed. The girls are with your mom tonight. Don't worry, they're safe, and they're so excited to see you tomorrow. I'm staying at a friend's place tonight to give you space to read this and process it. I'll be home around 10 p.m., and I hope we can pick up where we left off, as if nothing has changed. Because in my heart, nothing has. You are the love of my life, Jonathan. Until death do us part. Love always. Zoe. The pen fell from my hand. The letter trembled in my lap. And in that moment, standing in the foyer of a house I had filled with every bit of myself, I realized I didn't know what home meant anymore. I'm yours, baby. I'll give you anything you want or need. Thank you for being the best husband a girl could ever dream of. To love always and forever, your devoted wife, Zoe. That was the last line of her letter. I stared at it for what felt like hours, until I realized the bourbon glass I'd been holding was now shattered against the wall. I didn't even remember throwing it. Yet somehow, a few jagged shards were embedded in the drywall. That part of me, the part that reacts, that makes quick decisions without hesitation, that's the same instinct that helped me build a successful business. And now, it was taking over. I didn't sit down. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I grabbed a piece of paper, wrote a short letter in response, folded it, sealed it in an envelope, and wrote her name in bold letters across the front. I placed it on the entry table, right beside the letter she'd left for me. Her words? I took them with me. Literally. I slipped her letter into my pocket. I gathered some of my luggage and quietly climbed the stairs to our daughter's room. I packed their clothes for a few days. Just enough for a short getaway. Because we were leaving. In the car, I called my supervisor and told him to arrange for the corporate jet to be ready. Our destination, San Francisco. I'd stay there, in our company apartment near the West Coast office, at least for now. With my girls. By 6:30 that evening, I was pulling up to my parents' house to pick them up. I always kept extra clothes and supplies at the corporate place, just in case. The girls ran out the moment they saw the car, their faces lit up with excitement, little arms flinging around me. Daddy! You're home! We missed you! They shouted, showering me with kisses. That moment, it was the first time I genuinely smiled since stepping foot in that empty house. I thought you weren't coming back until tomorrow, one of them said. Mom said she had plans with her friend Jamie tonight. That's why we're here with Grandma and Grandpa. I hugged them tighter. My heart swelled with love and heartbreak at once. Their innocence made it worse. Because they had no idea their world was about to shift. Jamie. That name stuck with me. I filed it away. Once they settled down, I told them we were going on a little adventure, a short trip, flying on Dad's company plane. I painted it like a fun getaway, and convincing them was easy. But my parents? That was harder. They knew something was wrong the second I walked in. They didn't want me taking the girls without explaining what was going on. So, I handed them Zoe's letter. My dad read it first, his jaw tightening. My mom covered her mouth. I told them I needed time, alone with the girls, to think without letting anger or heartbreak make the decisions for me. I'd left Zoe a letter. I promised to call her soon. I also promised I'd be back in a couple of weeks and that the girls would be okay. On the flight, the girls giggled and played while Jessica, the same kind, familiar flight attendant I'd gotten to know over the years, kept them entertained. We'd shared enough flights that we were basically friends by now. That's what loneliness does in the skies, it builds quiet bonds. By 11 p.m., the girls were asleep, curled up under soft blankets. The cabin was dim, peaceful. That's when I finally picked up my phone and called Zoe. I told her I'd read her letter. That I was flying with the girls. That communication might be spotty because of the altitude. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I just told her the facts. That the girls were safe. That they'd call her in the morning. That I'd reach out again in the coming days. If she needed anything, she could call my parents. Before she could respond, I ended the call. We landed just after 1 a.m. I tucked the girls into bed at the corporate apartment, watching their tiny chests rise and fall as they slept, blissfully unaware of how much their world had shifted in just one night. I crashed that night without even unpacking. Figured there'd be time for that tomorrow. But the next morning, when Jennifer, 13, and Cassie, 15, woke up, I could feel the tension in the air. They'd overheard my call the night before. Cassie, the older one, sat on the edge of her bed, her face pale. "Did Mom betray you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. That question cracked something deep inside me. I swallowed the lump in my throat and shook my head, trying to hold it together. "Go get dressed," I told them gently. "We're going out for dinner." It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I knew if I could just give them love, structure, and support, they'd be okay. We'd all get through this. Earlier that morning, before the girls woke up, I'd called George, our family attorney back on the East Coast. We've known each other for over 2 decades. I didn't waste time with small talk. I told him everything. Straight up. "I want a divorce," I said. "I want full custody. I don't care what it costs. No counseling. No reconciliation. No forgiveness. I want this over and fast." There was a long pause on the other end. I could tell he was stunned. Probably just as blindsided as I was when I first read Zoe's letter. "Jonathan, I'm so sorry," he said finally. "Kate and I always thought you and Zoe were the dream couple." I can't wrap my head around this. I appreciated his sympathy, but I needed answers. He reminded me about the prenup Roger had insisted on when we started the company, because of his own mess with infidelity. That prenup? It was still valid and enforceable. If Zoe had truly cheated, she'd forfeit custody rights and all financial claims. Thanks to some smart moves along the way, most of our assets had been funneled into a trust one controlled: house, cars, accounts, investments. Untouchable. I had no clue how critical that setup would become. But now, it was the shield I didn't know I needed. "George," I said, "I've got her letter. Her written confession. But is that enough?" "It helps," he said. "But if we can get a verbal admission, something on tape or video, that'll seal it. Photos, recordings, any direct confirmation from her would be gold." I told him to go for it. Money's not an issue. I want this handled discreetly, but thoroughly. There's a name, Jamie. The girls mentioned him. The only Jamie I know is that smug tennis instructor at our country club. I already hated that guy. Turns out, I had good reason. Within a few days, the private firm we hired had Zoe's car tracked, our home wired with audio, and surveillance cameras discreetly installed, all legal, thanks to the trust owning the property. I never looked at any of the footage. I couldn't bear to see it. But the team saw enough. Jamie was a predator, young, good-looking, popular with the married women at the club. Zoe wasn't his first affair. Just another notch. 5 days later, George called. "Jonathan, we've got everything. It's rock solid." "Good," I said. "Draw up the divorce papers. Be meticulous. I want her to feel even a fraction of what she's done to me. I'll be home when she gets served." "You're sure?" "I'm sure. I'm not signing until I've talked to her. For the girl's sake. But yeah, I'm done. I still love her, George. But I can't forgive this." He didn't argue. Just promised to handle the rest. Tuesday morning we flew back home. The girls were happy to be back, but I sat them down and told them they need to stay in their rooms for a bit. I wanted to talk to their mom, alone, after her tennis lesson. They were worried. I was too. But I tried to assure them it'd all be okay. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Even though Zoe was still their mom, I made sure she wouldn't fall apart. I covered 3 months' rent for a small, furnished 2-bedroom place close by near the house and the club. I even bought her a used Toyota Sienna so she'd have a way to get around. Not because I forgave her, but because our daughters deserved better than watching their parents destroy each other. I didn't have to do everything I did for Zoe, but I chose to. Because above all else, I wanted our daughters to have access to their mother whenever they wanted. I didn't want them to grow up thinking they had to pick sides, or that love had to come with conditions. And I'll be honest, it wasn't about Zoe anymore. It was about protecting my girls from any more damage than they'd already endured. The luxury cars, the designer handbags, the upscale dinners, they were gone. She gave it all up. For a tennis pro who bailed on her the second things got hard. Jamie disappeared the moment the lawsuit was filed, leaving Zoe alone to pick up the pieces of the mess they'd made together. Despite all of it, I helped her get a job. Once I dropped the lawsuit, the country club agreed to cut ties with Jamie and quietly offered Zoe a chance to work there, as a waitress. The same club where she used to be a prominent, beloved member. Now she was serving the very people she used to sip wine with. It must have been humiliating. And maybe she needed that. A little taste of humility. Of consequence. The girls told me she cried at night. Almost every night. Not just for me, but for the life she threw away. For the choices she made that shattered everything we'd built. And maybe even for realizing, too late, that I had meant far more to her than she ever admitted out loud. I never gloated. Never rubbed it in. Honestly, it just made me sad. I told the girls I still loved their mom. And I meant it. Not in the romantic sense anymore, but in the way you love someone who's been part of your life, who gave you children, who once made your heart feel full. I encouraged them to love her. To forgive her. They visited her on weekends and stayed close. Then one afternoon, months later, Zoe came by to pick up the girls. For the first time, we had an actual conversation. A calm, friendly one. No bitterness. No yelling. Just two people facing what was left. She looked at me, eyes red but steady, and said, "Jonathan, I know we'll never be together again. And I don't expect you to trust me. But I need to say something." I nodded. She took a breath. "I'm sorry. For everything. For betraying you. For hurting you. I was selfish and entitled and didn't care how my actions would affect anyone else. I thought I could have what I wanted and still keep you. I didn't think about the consequences, and I sure as hell didn't think I'd lose everything." She paused, fighting tears. "I miss you. I miss the love we had. And it hurts. Every day. I've grown up a lot over this past year. Looking back, I can't even recognize the person I was. If I could undo it all, I would in a heartbeat. Losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me." I didn't say anything right away. Because I believed her. But that didn't mean I could go back.